This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, June 9th. And this is the meeting of the Ad Hoc Senior Center Feasibility Committee, and we are being recorded. So welcome, everyone. Let me get people in that are joining in now. Rini, that's you, right?
Yes, that is me. I'll switch to video when I can.
Okay, great. I'm going to rename you just for public viewing.
Where does it have my phone number?
Yeah. Where do you want me to put?
I'm driving. Yeah, just whatever.
Okay. Oh, don't tell me that.
Whatever.
Okay.
So I appreciate you're doing it.
Yeah, no. That's good. Good. And welcome, Joan. Okay, we already kicked off and called the meeting to order. So it sounds like Ed may not be joining us today, which is unfortunately, so he just got tied up with something else. So he may be able to join us later. Well, time will tell. So first thing on the agenda was called to order at 12:32 is the approval of the minutes. Thank you, Audrey, again for getting those out to us, and certainly have no problem with you sending them out to the group by any means. The funnel gets clogged sometimes. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Darcy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Libby. All in favor, and I have to do a roll call because we're being recorded. All in favor, Audrey?
Aye.
Ron?
Yay.
Darcy?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Libby?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
And Janet, aye. Okay, great. Thank you. And they are being posted up on my town gov, just so once they're approved. Okay, open time for the public. I don't see anybody joining us from outside the committee today, so we don't have anyone to speak. And update on properties to determine what we should include in the RFQ. So Audrey and I were talking prior to the meeting, trying to decide, do we need to review all the properties one more time or the ones that she updated, or what's everybody's preference?
I think we heard enough about the ones last week.
Yeah, that's kind of was our thought.
Or the week before.
Yeah, or yesterday. So we did Clark Street. We did both Clark Streets last time. So was there anything when you updated anything that stuck out with those, Audrey, off the top of your head that you're aware of?
We were just waiting to find out more information about the DEP monitoring wells.
Right. And I had neglected to do that until I was reminded. So my apologies. I've reached out to somebody in my office and I have not heard back yet, but I can ping them again.
Okay, great. Libby, if you hear anything, feel free to send us an email.
Yes.
With anything that you hear. We just can't deliberate on that information outside the meeting.
Yes.
Okay. And
was there anything on Darcy's deed restrictions on those properties?
I was going to ask.
On the Clark Street, there really wasn't anything significant. 89, let me just look at my notes. Ryan Gallagher's property, there's a small easement for heritage surveys, a small drainage easement, but it's not anything I think would impact it.
Right.
And then the other Clark Street, there wasn't anything on that portion. There was some on the building portion, but not on that portion that I could find.
Okay. You want to do just those old previous properties? I just want to acknowledge Ed joined us. So thank you, Ed. You tied up and untied quickly. So thank you for joining us. Okay. So Audrey, you want to share some? I have them open. Yep. I did manage to get that, but I asked her, let me just share my sharing. Thank you. Sorry, meant to do that before. So I'll turn it over to Audrey.
Okay, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
We're good.
Okay, so this is Moose Brook, and right away from the codes, the zones. We have the water supply protection area, right? But that's on several of our properties. This is just a segment from the large overview of which maps it pertains to. And also, again, water supply protection, you can see that going through there. So if we go to the larger part of it, it is chapter land, right? The topography is very decent as far as this lower level is really nice and level. Even the part that connects to Route 10, that's only like about 8%. These are, the topography really isn't that bad at all. This is a good parcel. I wasn't sure, based on the cards that you sent over, Darcy, I wasn't sure if we were looking at only parcel 26 or parcel 25 as well.
I believe both of them, I was looking at, because I think either one of the two, I mean, obviously the bigger one would be the nicest, because you could have an exit entrance and a lot of extra space, but the 5.5 acre or 5.6 acre one directly on College Highway also has an exit on Moose Brook. So I thought both of them should be included.
Okay. So we could actually consider them separate and or together.
Correct.
Okay. And,
Are they all active? Are they actively farmed right now for hay or?
They grow corn on them presently.
Okay.
So that's why I don't know, as we approach them, I would certainly ask if they were interested in selling all or one or the other. They may, maybe it would be good for them to sell one portion, the smaller portion, and still be able to get corn off the other. Not sure, but I think they should be dealt as separate.
Okay. Rini, if you could mute your phone, there's a lot of noise coming through. If it's possible. Thank you.
Okay, so let's keep going. So the coverage again is fine. It is residential neighborhood, believe it or not. And so the setbacks are fine. The acreage for coverage is fine. There are no wetlands. Like Darcy was saying, both are Moose Brook and College Highway for access. Most things are within the 1 mile radius. The town hall, library, fire station is actually on the fringe of the 1 mile, right on the edge. So advantages, we thought, of course, central to town. And if we didn't want to have direct access right off from Route 10, we don't have to. The topography is great. And according to Mass Mapper, believe it or not, this is like the only parcel that is not in the aquifer.
Wow.
Yeah. Disadvantages, again, water supply protection area. I don't believe it's up for sale. The lot shape of the larger one may not be the best, but there's plenty of space. So we're not really seeing that as a disadvantage. It is Chapter 61 land. And College Highway, I do believe, has water.
Okay.
So that's all a good thing. Is there any questions that we can help answer?
I just had a question about the chapter land. What's the stipulation on that? Can we consider chapter land or?
Well, it's been explained to me a couple of times because my spouse has dealt with that in her past life as an attorney. Darcy, can you fill us in on any of this?
Yeah. So they would have to remove it from chapter land, which then the town gets first right of refusal because we're changing the usage of it. I feel because, we were going to be acquiring it, that would cover the first right of refusal with the town. So I don't see the chapter land as an issue.
Yeah, John, to it's been an advantage for them to have it in chapter land from a tax perspective. So, but their commitment to the town is that when they do change usage, that it's going to be, the town will get the right of first refusal, whether to purchase it or not. So.
Right. And I don't know what the implications are as far as, back taxes. There's some kind of 5-year stipulation. But of course, when it's the town and it's our town taxes that are affected, we probably have a lot of leeway on that.
So there is a look back on it, and they will, there will be monies owed to the town. But again, that's something that, could be built into the purchase price, because I think just to have all the checks and balances, it would have to be paid by the seller to the town. And then, so it couldn't just be like, oh, well, we don't need to collect it. We would still have to collect it, release it from the Registry of Deeds and everything. But I think it's all workable. Ed could probably comment more on, but I think we need it needs to be paid and have all the checks and balances for the town accounting.
Yep.
It could be done. So, let's say.
But to answer your question in a very short way, I don't see why we could not consider chapter land.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. So let's move on. If no other questions on Moodsbrook. East Street rear.
Can you enlarge that?
You betcha, girl.
A little bit. Thank you. Or center it. Great. No, that's okay. No, it was just on a smaller screen. Thank you.
No problem.
My vision's not that bad. Okay.
It's okay. Mine is.
So here we have, this is the rear here. Okay. We can see all the East Street lands in this one view, but here's the rear here. So the zoning is residential village and water supply protection area again. So chapter land.
Again.
Believe it or not, chapter land. Now, the one question I had, and maybe someone can help answer this, is I don't know what these tie lines are. What the implication is. Ed, do you know?
It looks like it ties those parcels together to the same owner.
For contiguous, for chapter purposes to.
Correct.
You think, Darcy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that being said, moving on, topography, very flat, as we know. It's all good. It's 8.5 acres. Vacant, residential village. Obviously, the coverage is going to be great. No wetlands, East Street, everything is within a mile. Advantages, central to town. I mean, we're talking directly across from the library. You don't have to go onto Route 10 for access to it, which is great. The lot is pretty well shaped near the old railway, which if that ever gets developed would be great. It is in the medium yield aquifer. Water protection supply, all of that, chapter land. So this is not a disadvantage to those tie lines, right?
No.
Okay, and I will just delete that. Okay. The other disadvantage that we saw was close to a lot of residences. And who's going to want that in their backyard?
Low.
Seniors, yeah. I would say many senior centers are built in around senior housing, which we have none in town. But I don't think it's I wouldn't think it's going to be a bad thing. But residents may not feel that way.
I was going to say, I think it could go either way, I think. Yeah. Yep.
Depending on who it is, they could see it as an advantage or a disadvantage.
I think that also how they enter and exit, if there are all of a sudden creating more traffic down that part of Elm Street, that may be discouraging to the residents in the area. But if they come off of East Street, that's a different thing.
That and whatever type of outdoor utilization might be intended for the senior center maybe could have a negative impact on it. If they get rowdy out there, if they're going to have concerts or whatever. So
we can go to Conan Park and get rowdy. We're also.
Then there'd be room for more pickleball courts, Joan, right?
Whoa.
I think, on that particular one too, the seller lives, or the owner lives in the house on East Street
Right.
where that's their backyard. So I'm not sure if that would be, that might be a disadvantage also.
Can
Yeah.
you go back up to the map? Where's the house? I
Yeah,
thought this
there's
was
39 and 41. 41 is the Champagnes, right?
Yes.
And 39 is Flo Collins.
So one of these owns this?
Yes.
41 owns it. Yes.
41 owns it. Okay.
Yeah. And not to say that they wouldn't, you could always offer to put up, some bushes or trees or whatever, but that, might be a disadvantage.
So can you shrink the map a little bit? I'm having trouble looking at the Elm Street access.
Okay.
Actually, yeah.
Go to the other map. I think it's.
Yeah, hold on. Let me go to here. We'll just call it live.
Okay.
College Highway, East Street. There we go.
Yep. A little further. Yep.
So
Right.
were we thinking that I think we discussed this. I thought it was a disadvantage, but maybe not, that the access would be off of Elm Street.
Instead of East Street. Yeah. I mean,
No, you're right. It could be. Yeah. We don't know because this could be access. This is like 50 feet right here.
but I think that would be very discouraging to the owner of 41 personally. It might be
Right.
but
So-
if you did something from east to 17 coming from East Street.
Yeah, that's a dirt road in the middle of
The
nowhere.
road cost would be a lot too, to come in on that little 50-foot strip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
To build the road.
Well, I think it's
Yeah.
So that or that.
Yeah, I feel like the most discouraging part wouldn't necessarily be the building or the activities, but the fact that there would be a massive parking lot
Yeah.
in somebody's backyard.
And traffic on a
Right.
very quiet street.
Right.
Because I know the South Hadley Center is built in a neighborhood, but that was a building already that they remodeled. So I don't think that this made any major changes to the neighbors than what was already there. So
So basically, access either from Elm Street or East Street could be costly because Elm Street's a dirt road right now, and East Street is going to be a long access.
I don't think Elm Street's a dirt road, but
Oh, it's not.
I don't think it is. I think it's a paved road, but I can
No.
confirm the houses on it.
it's a rough pave.
It's a dirt road.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think there's a
part of
lot
it's
of.
paved, part of it's dirt.
Okay.
Okay.
The part to the left, if you're looking at the property from East Street, is dirt. And the back part that connects, that looks like it kind of dead ends because there's a discontinued road right of way. Where it ends, that part is paved.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of, that part of Elm Street.
Yeah.
But the shorter distance is not paved, right?
The vertical,
Why they
if you're
call it Elm
looking at it.
Street.
But is that really a disadvantage or?
Well, it's just an additional road, but some of the other properties need additional roads too.
Right. So I'm not going to ping this one just for that.
Yeah, that portion of Elm Street that's presently dirt has not been discontinued according to the plans now. The back part was discontinued.
Discontinued as a road.
Yes, but the side part that's dirt now isn't. So that could be used
Okay.
as an access.
Okay. Then let's move on to the last property. I think I have it up here. Just got to find it. Right here. All right. So the 2729 East Street, same area. It's in this little triangle. So again, it's got a lot of similarities to the other East Street as far as zoning and restrictions, water supply, these 2 acres. Now, again, it's kind of interesting. Are we looking at them separately or together?
So I was looking at it in, from my point of view, the whole thing is for sale. There's a deed restriction to the amount of land that needs to stay with the sale of the house. And then there's a small pond. The pond, there's a right of way for drainage across the street. But my thought was if we could acquire this, maybe the house could be part of like historical society, and then we could do what we want with the rest. And by not separating it, it wouldn't fall into play of leaving, X amount. I think it was 6,500 square feet. Just look at my notes here that needed to stay with it.
Does that include the outbuildings there from that?
Yeah, so those are garages,
right,
and stuff, which, could be torn down. Yeah, it 6,500 square feet need to stay with the sale of the house if it was to be divided. So that was just my thought, was that, if they wanted, because that is presently on the market. If that was the one we so chose, the house, I'm sure the Historical Society would not want that torn down, but it would be, an advantage that we could use that for the town, for the Historical Society, and then build the senior center on the rest.
How much is it for sale?
They just reduced the price. It was 5. Let me just do a quick search here. You guys can carry on and I'll search while you're talking. I know we're on a tight schedule.
Okay. So there's nobody living in the house now, correct?
Correct.
All right. Residence vacant. So the setbacks and the max coverage are fine. Although we aren't really building on the lot that has the house on it.
right.
No wetlands. East Street would be the access. Everything's within a mile. Advantages, central to town. Same advantages that the other East Street parcel has. Same disadvantages. Medium yield aquifer, water supply, protection area. That, like Darcy said, there is a pond located on it, which would limit the usage a little bit. Lot is not really rectangular square, so the shape might affect us. We actually saw the historical building as a disadvantage, only in that, we're going to build this new building, this new senior center. Is it going to jive with this area, the look, the feel, the everything? Or are the architects going to have to do some creativity on how this new building is going to look in relation to this historical area?
I think you want to consider that for all the properties, because the library and just the feel for the town is kind of, a historic colonial. I don't think we want a real modern building in the middle of our town.
Not in my backyard.
And the current sale price is $699,900.
Mhm. And that's the whole acreage in the house, right, Darcy?
Yes, that's everything.
Oh, that's both parcels.
Both parcels.
Okay.
It's 4.73 total.
Would there be an advantage for us to only look at the parcel that does not have the house on it?
We would have to look if 6,500 square feet stayed with the house, that would leave us with the smaller section and land. So, would that give us enough space?
So the 6,500, that is specifically coming from the lot itself is 1.38 acres.
Okay, so that would be the 6,500.
Right. So we wouldn't have to touch that lot.
Right. Yes. You're right. You're correct. So then, yeah, we could just look at the land itself.
Right.
Just so you know, Darcy, your email says 65,000 square feet.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 65,000, not 6,500. That's,
That's a big difference.
The two.
Sorry, sorry.
An acre and a half.
no,
What's the
I'm sorry, it's an
decimal
acre
point
and a
on
half. The acreage is correct. My 6,500 is not. The house probably would fit on 6,500.
Probably. Okay, so we'll have to consider that and talk about that as we decide which parcels should stay and which ones should go.
Yeah, that'd be about an acre and a half.
Yeah, it's just a little bit over an acre and a half. So the 138 is yeah, that's probably, I'd have to do my
So the
math.
way, let's look at this. So we might just have to change this property line just a little bit,
Yes.
just to make sure that they get what they need. All right.
So, Audrey, are there any wetlands there or wetland protection? Because I know I've seen turtles
Just-
crossing into that area. So,
Technically not delineated
okay,
according to the mass mapper. However, there is this pond,
right.
which, we all know that it might as well be a wetland.
Right.
So we would have to take out this chunk, I'm sure, for, and make sure that's all protected.
Yep. Mm.
Right. And that is listed under the disadvantages.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
That wraps up the additional 3.
Now, did we have enough info on the Labrie property when we looked at it last time, or do people need to look at that again?
Find it.
We kind of had a cursor. I mean, it's up to everybody, but I just want to make sure I don't think you had maybe you did have everything there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that one.
Okay.
Okay. So then I'm going to stop sharing and you can take it over.
So I guess I'd like to, I know we have public safety committee update, and maybe this might be an appropriate time if Rini, you're accessible. I'm thank you for muting now. I'm asking you to unmute, but to kind of give us an update, because there may be some of these properties that are being looked at from multiple directions. Does that make sense to everybody? If there's something that of these 6 properties?
You're muted.
Yeah, Rini, I know.
Hi.
Yeah.
I just unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Can you give me like 2 minutes? I just landed at the library and I can log on by
Okay,
video
that's fine.
too. Yeah. Just give me a couple minutes.
Okay, thanks. So do you want to talk about we talked about the building requirements last time, the town-owned buildings that were listed in the minutes. Does anybody have anything
I need to give the committee an update.
okay,
I was contacted by Quentin about the Congregational Church, and they have had meetings and discussions, and they would like to take their offer off the table.
okay,
The members aren't ready to actually do something like that.
okay,
And they do realize after Josie attended our meeting that they don't have the square footage or any of the space requirements that we really do need to go forward on a new senior center. That being said, they would like Council on Aging to consider the Southampton Church as a satellite for any other programs that either currently or down the road they would like to hold if this current senior center runs out of space or timing or conflicts. If they want to hold 2 programs at the same time, the church is there.
okay.
But
Thank you for sharing that update then.
yep.
So we can reduce our list. I don't know what, Joan disappeared there, but it looked like somebody probably walked in her office. Okay, thanks for the update, Audrey. Rini, did you hear that?
I did.
Okay, good. So let us know when you're ready to talk about the property we're looking at, the buildings we're looking at, and kind of draw any parallels to the public safety that. Because you said that they're presenting to the select board on the 21st.
Yeah, that's correct.
And their list of properties.
Yes. So you have to just let me in.
I just did. Yeah.
Let me just take a quick look at it.
Okay. Okay, here I am. Yeah, so they're reporting to the select board. There's a joint meeting between the Public Safety Building Committee and the select board on June 21st. They have identified 2 sites that were town-owned. Priority is where the current fire town hall is. Second is the highway department land off of Fulmer. Those are the 2 town-owned lands. They have removed all the other places they considered, including Moose Brook, the transfer station, Norris School, fields in the back, land on Riverdale Street. So they've removed all other considerations of town and have only identified 2 possibilities for town-owned land. For privately owned land, they have identified 4 places that they want to bring to the select board. There's a tie for number 1, which is the Clark Street properties, the same that we're looking at.
Both of them tied? Okay.
The second, the other tie is the College Highway Labrie land. So they're kind of both equally the preferred privately owned. And then there are 2 other privately owned land that are 3 and 4. And I'm just trying to think of
was it Coral?
and help me out here. One of them is Coral, I think.
Yeah.
And the other one is, oh, I know, on Fulmer Road, there's a tract of land that is beyond the highway department land. And it's a pretty good stretch of land. And I think the owner is Murphy, but I'm not positive. Ed, is that what your recollection is?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Do you
So
know the
that's
number-
what that's what they're going to, huh?
Does Ed know either the number or the lot number or whatever on Fulmer Road?
Yeah, let me see if I have it. You know, there's actually a Google document that has all of this. I can also just see if I can bring it up.
I believe that property wouldn't perk.
Wouldn't perk?
Ron would know. I think that's the one that's on, it was, oh gosh, she passed away and it's been sold.
Fisherland? No.
What?
Did you say on Fulmer Road or?
On Fulmer Road. It's right before Mark and Beth Ahart's.
Yeah.
Actually, yes.
Yeah, it's Matthew Murphy. It's 22.46 acres.
Mhm.
It's map 28, number 31. It's listed on the property card as 0 Fulmer Road. Yeah, there were concerns about the, big slope in the back, but the feeling was there is, enough land given the fact that it's 22.5 acres. So it didn't there wasn't a reason to eliminate it, but I don't think it's obviously number 1 on either.
1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah.
In recent years, I think when the woman that lived there passed away, and her name will come to me, but they did several test perks, and couldn't get a perk anywhere out there.
Is that right?
Yeah, because it's a lot of ledge, and then there's a pond out back. But I don't know if Ron, if you were involved with that.
I wasn't involved in that, no.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that realistically, the 2 town-owned lands and the 2 number 1 lands, and Eugene and Jim Labrie came to the meeting and offered a donation of 4 acres of a lot. They said 4 commercial, they showed a map that had 4 commercial lots across from Parkman O'Grady, with a street that they intend or would intend to put in that would connect to Lynn Drive. And so the land that they're offering is actually not on College Highway. but it's off of that, what would be a new street. And they also mentioned that there would be consideration for also a senior center. But again, I think it was all just sort of preliminary.
I think 4 acres isn't enough for both complexes.
I think that
There wouldn't be.
it wasn't.
No, they would, consider possibly additional, but that wasn't, on the map or anything. They had a schematic that included a picture of what was the older version of the public safety complex. But I think that the request is for a 1-level public safety complex. So I think it was just an offer while we're in the discussion phase of things. But again, other landowners were not thus far given the opportunity to chime in. So that's just where it stands. I think the charge for the public safety is to report back to the select board with potential lands, town-owned land being priority. So we'll hear from them on the 21st.
Okay, great. Thank you. Should we have a motion to try to prioritize the lands that we just discussed for our top? We were talking about our top 3. We don't have to restrict it, but any thoughts from the group on that?
I would make a motion to prioritize. I think we can start to narrow down.
I second that.
Okay. Can we just have a quick roll call? Sorry, Audrey?
Aye.
Ron?
Yay.
Darcy?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Libby?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
And Janet, aye. Okay. So does anybody, let's talk about we just went through the properties. Anybody have a feeling of what their number 1 property would be that they'd like to bring forth?
I think from the standpoint of a feasibility committee or a feasibility report, I would hope that we would want feedback on the existing property and also the old town hall.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're talking about not buildings right now, but properties.
So my thought would be, to, like Rainey said, to kind of tie into that, not necessarily the buildings, but I mean, I think if they did choose to, we should keep the Labrie property on there. If they chose to do it on the Labrie property and we could have both together, I think that would be an advantage, both for construction and to sell to the town as, being kind of on the same.
So my question would be, and I don't know if Rini, you got any sort of feedback from their presentation or Ed, were they talking about the senior center more off of Lynn Drive? And I know we discussed that before, and I mean, the resident.
No, it was just one comment really that it could, they could consider that.
Okay. So nothing in stone or.
No.
Okay.
I think Clark Street, right next to the park, access to the rail trail. I think that would be one that I would want a feasibility report on.
I agree. I think the Clark Street's a great location.
I agree too. I think it's the best, probably, well, I'm not going to say best, but it would be top.
I think the East Street locations fall to the bottom of the list because of the historic nature of that street.
I would agree with that also.
I would even take them off the list, actually, based on what we just heard from Audrey.
I would too.
Well, that narrows the list down. So that was 17 rear, and then the historic house with the property. So that leaves Clark Street, the Goral property, and the Labrie property.
Yeah, which is basically the same with the exception of the Murphy as the public safety, just.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Moose Brook property, was that on?
That's on
Yeah, that's
Laurel.
Goral.
The Goro property, yeah.
That was on, okay, I missed one of the things you said. So that was one of
Public
the.
safety?
Okay.
For public safety, Libby, is that your question? Yeah, so
Yes.
Moosebrook property, yeah.
Okay.
AKA the Goro property, so we can leave 4 properties. We can do the 2 Clark Streets, the Labrie property and the Goro property to put into our feasibility study.
I just wonder, this is a public meeting and same with public safety. We're discussing private property without contacting landowners. Not sure how I feel about hiring someone to look into the feasibility. What comes first, I guess, is my question. Do we?
I had written a note down, present to select board before the RFQ. And that would be to get their approval to contact the landowners. So, I mean, Ed, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, I can't imagine asking a third party to go out and talk to landowners that hasn't been approached by the town.
I think that the select board actually let the public safety committee know that the select board will reach out to landowners, especially if we're considering any of these properties for dual use.
I think we would have to reach out to them through the select board, because you don't want to spend time and money if somebody's, flat out, no, they're not interested at all. So I think that would be, a first step if we've decided that those are the 4 properties that are staying on the list, that the next step would be to find out if they have any interest.
And you don't necessarily have to know what the properties are before you send out the RFQ. You can just say, and review up to 3 properties, 4 properties, or 5 properties.
Without being listed in the.
Without the specific information being listed in the RFQ, correct?
How do you do that? How do you identify them without giving an address or?
You don't. You just say in that RFQ is one of the responsibilities is to review up to X amount of properties. After you actually award it, you can tell them what the properties are.
And you tell them that each one has.
Oh, I see what you mean. We don't have to hold up the request.
The start of the process.
Yeah, request for quotes.
Right.
We can just say, yeah, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, in this case, it's actually, it's actually request for qualifications rather than quotes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because again, our clock is ticking, and depending on how long it takes them to go through this feasibility study, I don't want to be butting up against May and, biting my fingernails down to the bone here. So if we can do that, I think that makes good sense. But we still have to present our request for qualifications, I think, in the charge, at least to the select board to keep them informed. I think that was the agreement of the charge.
Mm-hmm.
So we could do the 2 at the same time, have the select board contacting the landowners or, property owners if we, for buildings or whatever, and get the RFQ going at the same time.
Yeah.
Or just get the RFQ going and we still have time to contact the landowners once that process is in place. Is that what you were saying, Ed?
Correct.
Okay. So I know Libby, and so do we want to vote on these 4 properties as our preferred properties, not to be quoted yet, or do we just move forward at this point in time with the RFQ?
Are we, sorry, Audrey, are we still talking about the Harley shop also, or is that like in a separate?
Well, the buildings are kind of next, so we haven't.
Okay.
Well, let's just do the buildings, then we'll just approve them all together.
Yep, that sounds good.
Wrap it all together. Makes the most sense.
Let me see. I thought I had that document open.
I think it was pretty much the current town hall or senior center The Harley, yeah, there we go. So we can take off the church, right?
We take up the church, so it's the old Harley Davidson building, the police station, the current senior center, and the fire station and property.
Wouldn't we just combine 4 and 5?
Yes.
Possibly. I mean, I think they're two separate definitive locations. The senior center, I think we'd have to, I don't know. I mean, I'm open to discussion on that because I think they're two separate properties. So,
Well, I think I would get rid of the current senior center personally. I would consider the building a separate center especially if public safety, doesn't end up going there. Or if we have room for both, I don't know. But it just seems to me that it would make more sense for this to be possibly part of the town hall.
yeah, I just want to make sure, for people that's, when the public comes forth and we are having discussions, then the question comes up, did you look at the current senior center? I wonder if they have an answer for that. And if you're saying just to lump them together as 210, even though the fire station and property are on separate, obviously mailing address is different from Audrey's research, then,
I agree. I think we have to look at maybe utilizing even some of the existing senior center with maybe they can use it in some way with a separate building. I don't know. I think they just need to at least know about it, where it is in relationship to the other property. And they can make that quick assessment. No, this isn't usable. Done with it.
Yeah, I mean,
You're going to get questions on it if we don't include it.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the whole reason that we're doing this, right? So if the current senior center doesn't work, we need to prove why it won't work and serve the increasing needs of the community, as opposed to that. I think that's mostly what Janet was saying, why it was on the list, right?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably step one of the feasibility study.
Right.
So is everybody comfortable with those buildings listing? Now, Ed, for request for qualification, do we list those buildings as well, or do we again come in and ask them to just go for it?
Well, those we currently own, so yeah, you could list those.
And the Harley Davidson building? Or not?
I would probably leave that one out as part of, whether you say 4, 5, or 6 other properties that will be identified later.
Okay. What's everybody's feedback on that?
So that is currently owned by Smitty's Liquors, right?
Correct.
Was there any intention? I think it's being leased to Hackworth or dancing studio. Is there any long-term plans for that purchase? Because that was recent, right?
Yeah, I think they were just from what this is all from what I've heard, is they're leasing it to them because they had the fire at their location for the alarm company. So they're leasing it. I don't know if there's talks about them purchasing it or not. I agree that would kind of be with the property that we would have to, I would think before we would, put it as part of the investigating process, that we would make sure that the landowner or property owner would be willing to sell.
Mm-hmm. So it was on the market at one time in the last year, correct?
He bought it, I forget like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And then, there was gossip that he would sell it. And then that gossip that the deal fell through. It wasn't, actively on the market, but that's what was said.
Okay.
I had an actual conversation with Mr. Patel because I was interested, and I had Art Lawrence was interested in. He wanted me to find out, what was the condition, and at the time, he just said that if the town were interested in it, he would be willing to talk with us. But that's all the conversation we had.
Okay, so the ones that will be listed in the RFQ would be the old town hall or the current police station, the fire station, and the senior center. Those would be the 3 buildings we would list.
That would be my suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
You said 3 buildings. You mean 4?
I didn't mean 4. I said police, fire, and the senior center. What am I miss? What did I leave out?
Okay, so you're not going to include this Harley Davidson then?
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be for them to maybe after the qualification part.
Okay.
Again, it's not on the market. It's, similar to the lands.
Mhm.
Correct.
Do you have an idea, Rainey, when the Public Safety Committee will have their answer to where they're going?
Well, like I said, they're presenting to the select board on the 21st. And I think at that point, the select board would send out letters to other property owners. They have identified like 2 sites. They don't have funding quite yet for the feasibility study. I had asked the select board if they were interested in having a placeholder on the ARPA funds for a feasibility study. But we haven't voted for that, and the committee hasn't submitted an application for that. That would come after their meeting with the select board. Both Senator Vilas and Representative Pease have expressed an interest in helping to get funding somewhere along the way, either for a study and or the actual building. But that was just, said to individual people. It's not something that is a current bill or anything that I'm aware of. So I had suggested at the last meeting that maybe a subcommittee do what Janet and Joan and I had done, which is to start the list of must-haves and would be nice to have as far as the building. But the comment was there'll be plenty of time for that once we meet with the select board and waiting for the landowners to get back.
So we probably don't want to be held up by trying to see if we could do something together, because it sounds like they're going to be a ways out on their process also.
And
I would imagine it's as far as identifying properties and possibilities, I think that they're actually a little bit ahead in terms of already having an appointment with the select board to discuss and request letters to go out. I think we're a little bit ahead as far as identifying, what we want for a senior center. I don't think the Committee of Public Safety has gone back out to look at new construction to see, what's what, whereas we have done that step and we have a list of what we want to have in a senior center. So I think that they're kind of parallel paths, actually. I think we should identify a date to actually also connect back with the select board, especially if we want letters to go out and we're the ones with a little bit tighter deadline.
Well, if I understood Ed correctly, our feasibility study will be done without actually letters being, our goal is to say, this is the direction that is recommended by the study in order to get the money to begin the process, right? So, it's a little bit different. To me, we have a deadline not to make a decision about where, but to define what our goal is, either to use one of the current buildings, to buy property. I think it's a little more generic, but
Well, plus you have the funding source for the
study.
RFQ, for this feasibility study, yeah.
But let me clarify something, Ed. I thought you said that we can go ahead and request the qualifications and just say we want you to evaluate X number of properties. But by the time we actually get them to give us feedback, we have to obviously give them. I thought you were just saying that it's not going to hold up but by the time we're asking for a feasibility study, we need to have the properties, right?
By the time we award the feasibility study, we will have the properties, is what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So the 2 paths actually, shall we say, work together at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and send out the request, and in the meantime, the letters can go out. But by the time we actually want them to give us the feasibility of having a senior center on these sites, we'll have to give them addresses.
Okay.
Right.
So the qualification part goes out, then comes back, and then we award. We select the group to do the feasibility at that point in time.
We'll basically score the ones that come back, and then we will award, correct.
Okay, and then the study begins.
Then the study begins.
Okay. So we have to move pretty quickly to get the RFQ out.
Mhm.
I mean, and we're, like you said, we're running parallel. So
Right.
That's on the agenda. You have a draft already?
I know that I can't speak for the draft subcommittee here, but let's wrap up this. And then, so are we comfortable, or do you somebody want to make a motion as far as the properties we would like to pursue down the road and the buildings that we're going to actually include in the feasibility study, the police, the fire, the senior center, and the Clark Street lots, the Labrie field, or the Labrie land, and the Goro property would be what we would end up including in our request after the qualifications come back.
So I would make a motion that we, prioritize the current town-owned senior center, fire station, police, and then ask on our list for the select board to ask for letters of interest from the Clark Street, Goro property, Labrie property, and Harley shop.
Are we there yet for those letters, or do we ask for the qualifications first?
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, second. I was going to say, do we have a second for the motion? Let's have discussion then.
I think we are.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody concur with that?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's do.
Excuse me, that's with the understanding that we're not specifying the properties, vacant properties in the RFP. Just
In the
saying.
RFQ.
Right.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
So I anticipate that Select Board, Chris Fowles being our chair, would send a letter out to the property owners, since there's so many similarities between the two initiatives, to say, basically, would you be this, your site was identified as ideal location for either of both a senior center and fire police complex. Would you have any interest in donating and or selling your property to the town or something like that? So one letter would go out from the select board for any property that comes up on both lists, but so I think that Harley Davidson is not being considered for public safety. The Murphy property is being considered for public safety. So they would get a letter out, but I think that it would be one letter asking if they'd be interested in selling any land to the town, and would specify the acreage.
That makes sense.
Should
So the acreage that we decided upon was it 2 or 3?
2 to 3, I think
2 to 3, okay.
Yeah.
And Darcy, can you reiterate your motion? Because we have a motion, we have a second, and I don't know if Audrey
So
captured it or not.
I make a motion that we, identify the town buildings, town-owned properties as the senior center, fire station, police, and then ask the select board to send out letters to Clark Street properties, Goro property, Labrie property, and the Harley Davidson shop for letters of interest. And I don't know if we can get on the same date as the public safety for the 21st, whereas you said that we're all kind of, there's some overlap, and then the select board could send out all the letters and, identify who's looking and what not.
Okay, so we had a motion, we had a second, we had some discussion. Is there any additional discussion before we actually take action on that motion?
I think that's a great idea to try to get on the same date.
So, I mean, how did the public safety reach out to the select board? Did they ask in writing? Did they?
No, the chair just, Chris Fowles and Ed Gibson put the actual, do the agenda.
Okay.
So it would be probably reaching out, send an email to Chris and Ed just to get it in writing.
Okay, so let's have a vote on the motion. Audrey?
Aye.
Ron?
Yay.
Darcy?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Libby?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
Janet? Aye. Okay, so Ed will be in touch. You should smile when I say that. No.
You'll be in touch.
Well, as the chair of the committee, I will be in
Yes.
touch to ask on if we can get on to the agenda. So I'll put
I'll
that.
be looking forward to seeing that.
Okay, great. I know the clock is ticking, so do we want to take a minute and maybe we'll delay looking at specifications to the next meeting, because I just want to find out from Andrew and Libby and Audrey, who spent a little time, I believe yesterday, talking about the RFQ.
Oh, that was just Libby and Andrew.
Oh, that was Libby and Andrew. Okay. Any progress at this point?
Well, I prepared an RFQ based on all the different examples that we had, and I sent it to the group. And Joan, I'm looking at my email and realizing I neglected to copy you, so my apologies. So I sent a draft of an RFQ to you folks, and my email
was updated. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm
Excuse
sorry.
me?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I have several questions for the group. Some of them are for Ed, some of them for other folks regarding specifics in the RFQ. The biggest thing we need to nail down is what are the criteria for evaluation, and how do we nail that down? So there's an example that I put in the RFQ, and then I also attached a separate package that I had just gotten that had a different set of criteria. So it's critical that we nail that down for the RFQ, because that's the basis of our award, as far as I understand. That's how these things work. Ed, you can correct me if I'm wrong there.
No, usually involves a number of items, can be years in business, can be some of the specifics on the members of the team from that particular, shall we say, architect or engineer. So I usually you'll see probably anywhere from 5 to 8 different levels of criteria, ranked from highly advantageous to okay to not, basically rejection. Yeah.
I just saw in all the different examples, multiple different ways of going about it. So I just wanted you folks to weigh in on that. So
Can you bring
maybe
that document up, Libby, to take, do you want everyone to take a peek at it, and we can determine if we need to meet again next week with a little more time to digest that, or is everybody, or discuss that, I should say?
Let's see here. Let me see if I'm doing this right. I usually don't share on Zoom, so can you see that?
You started sharing. Let me see.
Not yet.
We're viewing your screen. Up there we go. There we go. Okay, thank you. Yep.
Now I'm clicking on this and it is not letting me
Scroll.
Sorry. Yeah, it's not letting me scroll. I don't know why. Nope. I don't know what's going on here. So maybe I can now go to the email that I had and maybe just talk about that. Do you see the email here?
You got to stop sharing this screen first.
Okay.
And then open the next document. So we're still looking at yeah.
All right. I'm used to working on Microsoft Teams. Not,
I hear you. I'm used to it.
Zoom,
I know that feeling in the reverse.
Let's see. Do you see this email?
Not yet.
Boy.
I can go to my email if it's.
I was gonna say I can go in mine, Libby, and share it if you want.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if
Okay.
it's not considered part of my screen.
So stop sharing, Libby, okay?
Okay.
And
Sorry
then
about that.
it's okay.
But I really would like if people could go into that document and add comments, or, I had some questions for Ed about insurance requirements and Mass General Law references. There were the selection criteria was a question.
I'll send you the draft contract that we will, that we utilize, which has all the insurance criteria in it.
Okay, that's great, because that was another question, whether or not we have a standard contract that we'd use for this. So, and I also want people to weigh in on the structure of the RFQ, because again, there were so many different ways of putting this together that people might, I just want to confirm that people think it flows properly.
I have it handy if you want me to share it. You want me to do that? Darcy?
Yeah, that'd be great, because I'm looking for it. I have it on my iPad, so I was looking for it on my computer.
Oh, I like that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's Reenie's backyard.
Can we have our meeting there?
I wish. Okay,
Thank you.
so
The
RFQ.
highlights are things that I was unsure of, or, that we just need to fill in.
Because I think if people have a chance to go through it, and if you can highlight the things that are really critical that you were just discussing, Libby, with
I
that
think
page, and then maybe we need to meet next week sometime to keep the process moving, because I know we're going to lose Audrey in a little bit, and
I think there's too much information here to go through it in this meeting. And this is the whole basis of our study, so I don't want to rush it.
Right.
Well, can we make it an action item for our entire group to review this and meet again next Thursday?
Thursday's not going to be good for me. I don't know if anybody's available on a Wednesday.
Everything in the world is happening next Thursday for some reason.
Yep.
Oh, that's true. That's true. As long as it's lunchtime, I should be available.
On a Wednesday. Everybody want to check their schedule? Because I definitely can't.
I am not available Wednesday, but I don't know if I'd be able to even give any information on this. So feel free to, if Wednesday works for the group.
And I still need to update this based on any additional information that you have regarding the requirements. So I can do that and send it to you, because I used your old list to populate this. And I also need to add in the information about the number of parcels to be looking at.
Okay. And I'd sent you the updated list, right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
I think I had sent this out before I got that
Yes.
list.
Okay.
Should I scroll down, or are we reviewing this at all?
If you want to just go to the section that Libby specifically, I think is.
Yeah, it's towards the end. Let's see, submittal requirements. Let's keep going. No, back up. Sorry. That comparative evaluation criteria. And do we want an interview? Ed, do you typically interview folks?
It really depends on what you get back.
As far as.
I mean, if you got one back, you don't need to interview. If you got two back and clearly one's not qualified, you don't need to interview. If you get two or three that are qualified, you probably should do the interviews.
So I need to modify this to indicate that the oral presentation and interview, if required, is part of the comparative evaluation criteria.
Yeah.
All right. So this needs a little bit of work there, but that's the type of thing. So the way I did it was, this was a minimum criteria that the firms had to meet. The quality of the submission, the interview, the references, number of years they've been in business, number of municipal clients, and then we go to an interview and go on from there. So
you like the point system, huh?
Well, I just took this from one of the examples. You can tell me what you like, and I can modify it to that.
I can work around anything. So.
I like the point system, actually. I guess having been both in private sector, public sector, and municipal is a completely unique situation. I just would probably want them to have worked with the municipalities.
Okay.
That's the only thing I would think might be weighted a little bit more. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
No, that's a good point. It's a different animal.
At least maybe 3 instead of 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm used to, and my preference is basically the highly advantageous, and basically you put in your criteria what you want and what they mean. And basically for, years the firm has been in business, highly advantageous could be 15 or 20 years or more. Advantageous is like 15 to 20, and you go down. So.
Okay, I like that. So you develop a matrix and see which boxes you check.
Right.
Okay.
Do you want to?
Probably what makes the most sense is develop the actual criteria we want in here, and then we can either work around the point system or that highly advantageous piece. So.
All right. I can do that, and I'll modify this and send this out hopefully by tomorrow.
So is Wednesday going to work for everybody? Wednesday or Friday? I know Joan's not in on Fridays, I love my Fridays off, but if that's better for everybody, just.
Wednesday works for me.
Wednesday.
I could do Wednesday.
Yeah.
Did we hear from everybody?
Yeah, Wednesday's fine for me too.
Okay. Did Ron speak?
Yeah, I think it's good. I don't have my schedule in front of me.
Okay. So Wednesday, can we meet at noon or do you not have meetings, Audrey, on Wednesdays?
Yeah, I don't have anything scheduled right now for next Wednesday, so we should be okay.
I mean, we can make it 12:15 if that gives us a little more breathing room. I mean, we're open. Do you want to close this reading for now?
I'd rather 12:30. Can you just say what time you expect the meeting to go to? That would be helpful.
Yeah, I always expect it to be between an hour and an hour and a half. So,
and the goal of the meeting is to finalize draft of that?
Yes, or finalize the RFQ.
Okay.
And I know that Andrew, did you have a chance to update the timeline?
Yeah, I did. I kind of been adding more things as we discuss it.
Okay.
I don't know that we necessarily need to review it. I can just upload a new version in that Google Drive.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that everybody still has access to that. I think I made everyone in this group an administrator. So if there are people who don't have access to it, please let me know.
Can you send out the link again, Andrew? And
Sure.
I think there are some people that may be having trouble getting access or just knowledge of Google Drive. So I know I brought it up as a good place to share. And if we need to send emails instead, whatever seems to work.
I had trouble a few weeks ago, but I went on it earlier this week and had no trouble at all accessing the files. So.
Okay, good. All right, I'll resend the link and upload a new Excel sheet.
Okay, great. We did review it at the COA board meeting yesterday and, talked about the criteria with that group. Just got one addition that possibly the addition of a stage or somewhere to have a little small performance. We have to determine if you sacrifice seating room for that. So it's, something we can talk about at maybe the next meeting, but.
So I have a question on the criteria that we want in our senior center. So I remember when we talked with EDM, they highly suggested that whomever we work with, we finalize that criteria. It's great to know what we want ahead of time, but they would actually have better suggestions on what we might need. So is this criteria at least a little flexible?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. We're not we kind of know what our criteria is, but if they've been doing this and Lifespan's been doing this and they have better suggestions, we need to stay open to those recommendations.
Within our budget, though.
Of course.
We don't have a budget right now, though.
Where's our budget?
We don't have a budget right now, so.
I also think the fact that we went to see both South Hadley and Hadley, both of them had the same company with Lifespan. And we learned a lot from that in terms of what we want. And I think I think we're flexible for sure, but I think we have a good sense of our list. I think is a pretty adequate list.
Do you know who the architect of the library was? And do we like the library? I mean, is it, I know it's been a while. Is it 20 or 20?
Yeah, it's been 20 years, so I wouldn't worry about
Doesn't
that.
matter.
So I can send out what we worked on the other day to everybody. And I'm sorry if I'm like, did I do that already or not?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I wanted to share it with the board yesterday in case they had something they thought that we had missed. So I will send that out. I knew we weren't going to get to it today, but we will definitely try to review it next week on Wednesday.
Was that the senior center specs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
did she send that out?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do have it.
Oh, okay.
So who has a memory? Okay. So yeah, and they did point out, they asked me from the time we shared the timeline with them and they're like, but it expires in 2 weeks. So they were asking questions about, when's the RFQ going to go out? And so I think to get that updated and make sure we're tracking again with our deadline ahead. Because the RFQ then leads to the feasibility study, which could take a few months. So we just want to make sure that we're in our time frame. All right. So I'm going to, any other business to talk about? Again, we talked about the expanded timeline, and if we need to meet on a Thursday and we need to make it at 12:15, to accommodate a meeting at 2, we'll try to be done at, we will not go beyond 2:00. I think in the future, we'll just have to reschedule another meeting if that's
So,
we're looking
so
to.
that's the meeting in 2 weeks?
No, this is the meeting in
That's
we're
next
talking about
week.
next week,
Okay.
right?
Okay. I have a conflict on the 23rd, that's all. But I'm not a voting
Okay.
member, so.
Well, so we're looking at Wednesday, the 15th, right? June 15th,
Mhm.
12:00 or 12:30 for next week.
12:30 or 12:15? 12:30?
12:30 is fine.
12:30 is fine for next week if we can do that. Okay.
Yep.
And then I'll send out the Zoom link. We'll get together a quick agenda. I think we kind of know the agenda. And hopefully we can wrap up the RFQ. I know the 23rd was kind of our goal to have that completed on our timeline. So if we can stick to our timeline, that'll be great. Anything else? Any other?
A technical question. I had trouble getting in the meeting today because when I went to the link, it says it's been disconnected. I don't know why, but I'm going to go right to Zoom next time.
Did anybody else have an issue with the link?
No.
Okay.
Can I just ask when we anticipate, I don't know if you can, but it's very helpful for me if I have a little bit more advance notice of meetings. So we have a, pretty busy stretch coming up with the end of the fiscal year and July holiday and all that. So you mentioned the 23rd. Do we expect to have a meeting still on the 23rd and also a meeting posted for the 21st for the select board?
So would that be a joint, so is the public safety, is the whole committee going?
That would be a joint meeting.
Okay. So,
If a quorum attends, it would have to, of course,
Yeah,
be
no, I
a
understand.
joint meeting.
so I know Andrew probably wouldn't be able to come in unless you could come in remotely. So yes, we have a meeting on the 15th. I wouldn't want to cancel the 23rd at this point in time in case we need it. I mean, this is an extra meeting to try to move things forward. So it would be the 15th, the 21st is a joint meeting if we get approved to be on the agenda, and then the 23rd.
Okay.
What time's the select board meeting?
6
6
o'clock.
o'clock. Okay.
And those are in person, correct?
Correct.
And if we need to have someone, a hybrid meeting for any reason? Is that possible or?
Vaguely possible.
Okay.
Not committing to anything.
Okay, I hear you. Does that answer your question, Rini? I mean, we've been trying to go every 2
Yeah.
weeks and we just added 2 more meetings to move
Okay.
the process forward.
All right. All right. So then after that, it would normally be every 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay.
I may have a conflict on the 23rd. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have one for the first half an hour.
Okay.
On the 23rd?
Yeah, I have a work meeting between 12 and 1. that I can't miss.
Okay. All right.
So I can just join late.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, that was always the plan every 2 weeks. So
Okay,
that's kind of what the charter was, but we just need to move this one forward as quickly
okay.
as possible. So,
Ones after that in July might be problematic, but I can make the next, 3 anyway.
well, hopefully we can, I mean, our goal was to get the RFQ out, and then we wouldn't have to meet as frequently. So,
Okay. Sounds good.
do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Quick roll call. Audrey,
Aye.
Ron,
Yay.
Darcy,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Libby,
Aye.
Rini,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Good one, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.